Hi there. I know I haven't uploaded in a long time, and my AMVs are all gone. Yes, I know. The channel's been a bit weird recently. And I appreciate if you're still subscribed, if you're watching this right now. I really appreciate you clicking on this video. But basically, after making that video essay on Sword Art Online's characters in alicization and how they got better, I've been really demotivated because to be monetized I can't make AMVs anymore. The only one that's still up is the Fate one, and that's all because that one has edited music, so there's nothing to copyright really. So yeah, we're gonna stick to this low editing style, no real like script going on, because scripting didn't work out for me. So anyways, how did Sonic age? Now I know that's weird, like why is the Sonic video on this channel? But at the same time, why did I rebrand the channel to have a mascot that's an anime character that I never covered ever? Like if you haven't watched Detective Conan, I recommend you do, or at least read it. But I'm not sticking to any rules right now. I'm kind of just doing my own thing. So we're gonna roll with that. Sonic's 3D games have been a subject of debate for a long time. And I'll start with what people call the best one, Sonic Adventure 2. And to talk about that, I have to explain Sonic Adventure 1 a little bit, right? So Adventure 1 was the transition from 2D to 3D. So Sonic Team in general, when they're at their best, when Sega hasn't cut their balls off yet, they are super ambitious. They really always just want to do something insane. They want to do something bigger, better, every single time. So with Sonic Adventure, transitioning to 3D is the big ambition. Like, it doesn't have to be a special, insanely amazing game with a ton of complexities to be good, in their eyes. The jump itself was insane. So that's the main ambition in Sonic Adventure, to nail a basic 3D game for Sonic, and they did it. Sonic Adventure 1 aged beautifully, if you ask me. I replayed it, I'm new to the Sonic franchise. I liked it when I was a kid, but I didn't play much of the games until this week. This was the week where I was like, you know what, when I had a Sonic phase as a 10-year-old, I really want to get back into Sonic. So I played Sonic Adventure 1 at the start, as the first one. And at first I thought, hey, this plays like a really old game, but the dumb facial animations in the cutscenes aside, the story is endearing. I found all of it to be fun when watching or playing through it, and the gameplay is fun, really. Like it's not like something groundbreaking, but it is fun. There's nothing wrong with the gameplay. Well, even like the treasure hunting maps for Knuckles, they played fine. They were not offensive at all. They finished quickly, or at least they didn't feel tedious to complete. And gliding with him felt really good, which they improved in Sonic Adventure 2. Gliding, the controls for Knuckles and like the treasure hunter characters is very fun to use. Like just gliding and diving in, and their basic moveset is fun to use. Tails, I liked in Sonic Adventure 1, even though a lot of people say that he breaks the game because if you know what to do, you can kind of just skip through the maps. I don't know that. I didn't know that. So as a newcomer, like I'm trying to make a video that's a perspective of someone new to these old ass games, and to describe which one I found aged the best in a way. So Tails, because I didn't know about all these game-breaking stuff you could do with them, like skipping the maps, etc. He played fine for me in Adventure 1. It wasn't like addicting or anything. It wasn't like Sonic or Knuckles. It didn't feel like particularly great, but he felt fun. It was fine. Sonic Adventure ended pretty well, I would say. It stuck the landing to a decent extent. Every stage was fun to play. At least it wasn't annoying. Even like the bad stages, they never got to tedious grounds. But the final boss, they were really ambitious to try and make this a really big set piece, a really cool set piece, and because of that, they ended up taking some risks, because you have to. They made a boss fight that doesn't play like anything else in the game, which is a pattern for Sonic. The final boss is always going to be something special. It's never going to be like the rest of the game. in most cases, it's like its own unique set piece thing. And so the final boss against Perfect Chaos, I actually liked Chaos as an antagonist in gameplay, etc. Gameplay was always simple. The bosses in Sonic are either easy or super annoying. There's no middle ground for Sonic. It's very rare to find a boss fight that's both challenging and fun. So Chaos throughout the game played fine. I didn't find any particularly annoying boss fight, but the last one, the Perfect Chaos, after you finish all the stories, that one was really annoying. It wasn't like I want to break my computer annoying, because I got it finished in like 2-3 tries, but it wasn't fun. The fun was the music blasting in the background and you walking around as Supersonic. It was the set piece, but the controls were still finicky. That's what happens when Sonic Team tries to do something risky. They kind of risk the polish, because you know, Sega is known for their horrible schedule for development. So yeah, Perfect Chaos, the atmosphere was cool, the actual gameplay was meh until you get the hang of it, then it's fine, but it's not, I don't have fond memories of that boss for the gameplay, so I didn't really like the gameplay much there. But Sonic Adventure 1 as a whole aged fine, I would say. If anyone wants to try the Sonic series and is new to it, Sonic Adventure 1 will not turn you off from the series. It'll make you expect even better things when you go to the next game, because you're like, if this is their first endeavor into 3D, then the next game surely is gonna be fucking amazing, right? And that's where we get to SA2. SA2, or Sonic Adventure 2, is known as the magnum opus of the Sonic team, right? But the thing is, I don't think SA2 aged that well. I set up for this earlier when I said that the more ambitious they are, risk-taking they are with their game design, the more chances that something doesn't age that well, because, you know, it gets less polish when it's risky. That's kind of a theme with the Sonic team. So Adventure 2 is probably the most complex Sonic game you will find in terms of what you could do with the game. So there's a ton of like amazing stuff that you could do, but I'm just running through the game for the fun of it. I'm not trying to, you know, speedrun it or do some crazy strats or be a professional or a hardcore player at like the treasure hunting stages to knock them out in like 1 minute or something. There's a ton of fun to be had if you're into stuff like this. Like if you enjoy the early 2000s style of video games that have a high skill ceiling but also are very janky sometimes because of that ambition, because they try to give you so many things to play around with, they end up having a bit of a janky game. If you're fine with that, then Sonic Adventure 2 might not annoy you as much as it did me. But for me, Sonic and Shadow stages are a total of what, like 10 stages, and 8 of them I loved, right? I was fine with them. Nothing annoyed me, nothing broke the experience for me. But the final 2 stages, respectively, for each one's campaign, are both grind railing segments in space, and I hated both of those maps. They're probably amazing if you know how to do some crazy skip strats or jump around on rails, because you're falling through the space, so there's a lot of options for you to take alternative routes if you know how to control your character properly. But I was just playing the game to finish it. I was just playing normally, like I wasn't doing anything special. It was just an average gaming experience, and those 2 stages were horrible for me. I did not like them at all. The stage before the final one for Sonic, the one where he's breaking through the spaceship, that one is a bit tedious, but I actually liked it because every time I died, I got faster at clearing the stage because I knew more. And so that one is probably the heart of SA2. That's probably what SA2 wants you to do, is get better the more you fail and get to the point where you can do some crazy stuff because of how used to the game you are. I wasn't playing for that. I was just playing the game normally, so you know, it's hit or miss. Not everything's gonna hit with me like it did there, and that's where the problems start. I dislike 2 stages out of Sonic and Shadow, and together combined, they have 10 stages. So that means I like 8 stages total from their campaigns. Out of like 30 something, that's 8 stages that I enjoyed out of 30 or so stages, and it doesn't get any better from here. Tails and Eggman. Before I am even qualified to comment on these, I have to mention that since I'm revisiting the Sonic series and these are old ass games, I'm going to play these games modded and improved. In Sonic Adventure 1, it only has like minimal mods to improve it because the game is so simple. There's not really a ton of shit to modify from a gameplay perspective. So it only has like, maybe I would say like the spin dash mod or something where you can spin dash on the fly instead of stopping in your place. I think that's the main mod that made that game a lot more fun once I got it. But Sonic Adventure 2, I got a good amount of mods to fix up like for the max stages. It made the max more fun to control, and or at least like more responsive. And for the treasure hunting stages, I got the radar patch, which makes the radar tell you, since you're searching for shards in the map. In Adventure 1, the radar will just detect shards that you're close to every single time. In Adventure 2, you have to get them in order. So if you could be sitting right next to a shard, but because the radar says, no, I want the other one first, it doesn't detect that one. So you can't grab it, so you have to go find the one that is telling you to get. So this patch just makes it so that the radar functions like a normal radar. It just tells you whatever emerald you're close to, and you just grab it. So that gameplay is less tedious than the base game, and the max control better. I can platform better with them, so those are less tedious than the main game. Even with those quality of life improvement mods, those stages were super tedious, extremely tedious. The Knuckle and Roo stages, like, raise the stakes of how annoying they can get every time. The first stage is fine, second stage is okay, third stage, fourth stage, that pattern, by the time you get to the fourth stage, horrible. You want to end your life. So when I got to the space stages, which are the last treasure hunting stages, I was really annoyed every single second of the gameplay. I was not having fun. I was not having fun at all, and I was already annoyed because the mech stages, even with all these improvements, are just either boring because you're just walking around shooting stuff, or you're platforming on some really janky wait sections because you need to wait for the platform to go up like an elevator or whatever. There's a ton of that in the mech stages. They are just too long, and they overstay their welcome. The mech stages overstay their welcome entirely. The only mech stage that I still have fond memories of is Eggman's space one, where he's it's a bit of a long one, but I do believe it's his last stage. I'm not sure. That one is fun because it has some interesting things as you keep going. It doesn't overstay its welcome because it's constantly giving you engaging things to do. It's not the same thing over and over and over again. But that's because that's the level design. So they can, with good level design, good enough level design, they can make these finicky choices for the controls, etc. They can make them fun. They know what to do. It's just that they only nailed it in one stage for me. So most of the time, I'm not having fun with these stages. Maybe there's a few here and there that I did enjoy, for maybe like 2 stages in the mechs, maybe 1 stage in the treasure hunting. But for the most part, I would rather they end as soon as possible and don't overstay their welcome so that I don't have to deal with them too long. Because for the first few minutes, I'm okay with some tedious gameplay, but when it gets too long, that's when it gets really annoying, and that's when all the flaws with the gameplay really show themselves. So this isn't new. A lot of people know that these stages get some criticism. My point here is that I played both games modded, and SA1 had less mods and still aged better, but SA2 got more mods but still aged worse. That's because of ambition. The more ambitious you are with a Sonic game, at least in the days of 3D Sonic, the more ambitious you are with creating these games, the more risks you take and the more chances that this game ages worse. So Sonic Adventure 1 aged great because it's simple. That's the reason. Like, the only stage that was actually annoying in that game was the one on Eggman's spaceship at the very end. So yeah, because SA1 is so simple, it didn't age too bad. SA2 is so complex, there's such a high skill ceiling that it aged poorly, if you ask me. Not because of the skill ceiling. I love that. I want that in a game that has so many options and routes to tackle the stage in your own way, with your own skill. That's longevity. That's great replay value. Sonic Adventure 2 just doesn't make me want to boot up the game again unless I'm playing one of Shadow and Sonic stages. Even then, I'm not that interested because there are better games that feel better to control when you want to go fast. I know not everyone likes the speed, the boost gameplay that's in Sonic Unleashed, but that's what I think of when I want to go fast. But that doesn't mean we have to go to the boost games to find a fun game in terms of consistency. I'll explain a little bit on that as we go. Sonic Heroes I wanted to play because it was the next game after Adventure 2, and because it had Shadow's story after he came back from, presumably dying. And I started with Dark Team, and I said, if I like this game enough, I'm gonna finish all the stories, right? I modded the shit out of Sonic Heroes. There's a ton of mods that make the speed characters less slippery, etc. The modding community for Sonic is so much kinder to these older games than Sega could ever be. They put some heart and soul into these old games. They love them so much that all these mods, all these patches, they make these games accessible to someone new, more so than you would think. Like, all these games have already been judged by the veterans of the Sonic franchise. They grew up with it. But from a fresh perspective, these mods are insane. They're the main reason I could even boot up half of these games. I wouldn't play Sonic Heroes if it wasn't patched up. So I patched up Sonic Heroes, played fine until I got to the last stage of Team Dark. That last stage gave me flashbacks of the space grinding in Sonic Adventure 2, not because it had too much grinding, but because it was a tedious stage. And I honestly was already annoyed from SA2, and Sonic Heroes wasn't like a groundbreaking experience, even patched up. It was fine. I was just playing an okay game. So after being a bit annoyed with SA2 and playing an okay game, I was kind of doubting myself. Like, SA2 is the most praised Sonic game, and I didn't like it much. I hated like 70% of it. So does that mean that Sonic doesn't click for me? Is the problem me here? And are my memories of playing Sonic Unleashed when I was a kid and Shadow the Hedgehog, which is a shit game, by the way, before anybody tries to even think that I'm defending that game, but it was my first Sonic game. Or are those memories all like not worth anything? Am I not able of finishing a 3D game anymore for Sonic? Especially after hating most of Adventure 2, I really thought that I wasn't gonna get anywhere with this retrospective, in quotes, because I wasn't really trying to do a review or anything. I just wanted to play the old Sonic games. Sonic 06, because I skipped Shadow the Hedgehog. I watched some cutscenes and that's it. I'm not playing that as an adult. Sonic 06. Not only do we have some cool projects like P06 that are trying to remake the game from scratch on PC, on Unity. Not entirely from scratch, but you know what I mean. But we also have some really cool mods for the Xbox version of the game, maybe PS3 I think as well, and that work with the Xenia emulator, which is the Xbox 360 emulator. And the one that I played with is called Legacy of Solaris, and what it does, it uses a lot of the fan community made patches that fix a lot of the bugs in the game, and then it takes it to another level by actually modifying the levels and these characters. So for example, Shadow and Silver are a lot faster, so are most of the other characters. Silver is not annoying to play. You actually get to kill enemies fine. He actually feels overpowered at times, but the main devs said that Silver just felt that he needs to be overpowered to be fun, and I don't mind that because enemies were never that hard to defeat in Sonic games, so I didn't mind that. There's a lot of changes in this game. Not only do they manage to make Sonic 06 run fine, like I barely ran into any bugs throughout my entire playthrough. So stability-wise, bugs-wise, everything's way better now. The gameplay-wise, characters play a lot more smoothly. Everything just plays better. The level design was already, if you ask me, the level design was already pretty good in Sonic 06. I never played it before, but this is my first experience with it through this mod, but they said that they only made changes to the levels in some cases. So there wasn't a ton of level changes, so there had to be some good level design originally for this game to be the way it is. So with the Legacy of Solaris mod that updates Sonic 06 a lot, what did I think of the most critically panned Sonic game to ever exist? I think it was my favorite Sonic game that I have ever played. I'm gonna try and elaborate on that as much as I can. But there's this great video by Jay's Reviews, which I watch, but I don't always agree with him. His video on Sonic Adventure 2, I agreed with a lot of things there, but I didn't agree with a lot of other things. Because as you know, I kind of had a very surprising experience with SA2. I did not expect to dislike so much of it. I expected to love it, because that's just the fan feedback. So, you know, not everything ends up the way that you expect it to. But his Sonic 06 video made a segment for the technical difficulties towards the end, and everything else was covered throughout the video. So he didn't just focus on the bugs. And that's why he said he liked Sonic 06, because it was ambitious and it did so many cool things other than the bugs. So with this patched up Sonic 06, I didn't have to deal with most of the issues that people had with Sonic 06 when playing it. Which leaves, realistically, is the modded gameplay fun? And what do I think of the story? And I have to say, the modded gameplay is actually pretty damn fun. The only issue is the Mach speed sections for Sonic. They are tedious as fuck to play. So the first time when you hop into that Mach speed segment, I died a few times, and then I realized, no, this is not for me. I can't play it like this. So I enabled an option that just lets you play with normal Sonic in the Mach speed sections, and voila, I no longer had an issue with those stages. Not saying, like, this review isn't gonna be reviewing specifically the Sonic games on release. I've already mentioned mods. So this is more directed to how did these games age with fan support? How did these mods and all these modifications that changed the games over the course of years? The Sonic 06 has been out for 15 years, and only recently did we get a mod that changed it this much. How does it feel to play these games in the modern era as a new player? And I have to say, SA1 aged fine because it was simple. SA2 had some really high highs, some really low lows, if you ask me. Because it was so ambitious. That's why it took risks. That's why it's either really high highs or really low lows. Sonic Heroes aged meh. It's just there's nothing crazy unique there for me. But 06, with these mods, this game feels great to play. Sonic feels amazing when you're hopping around super quick. There's so many alternative routes to take that you don't need boost for. This is the classic adventure gameplay, and that's what makes it feel so good, is that it's the classic adventure gameplay in a modern game. And so it feels great to use Sonic. There's some extra things you can do with them with the gems and whatever, but I didn't do it much. I just played regular Sonic as if I was in Adventure 1 or 2, and it played fine for me. I enjoyed it. It was very, very fun. Silver's gameplay was super fun for me. It was really, really fun because as a 3D platformer, the best playstyle you could have that could like really poke at people's heads while they're playing is a playstyle that allows you to break the rules of the game a little bit. Silver can hover, he can move things with his psychokinesis, and if you're smart, you could move between like platforms in a way that the game doesn't expect you to, which leads to other routes that were not meant for you, but they still function just as fine because the game still is designed that way. It's still like the map is well designed enough that even if you do some crazy hovering here or there, it doesn't break the game. Instead, you have a lot of fun with it. So I would say Silver benefited the most from this modding. His movement speed is way better now. In the hub world is way faster. I remember hearing that at hub worlds people were super slow. So Silver felt really fun to play as. He felt like a very sandbox 3D platformer gameplay style where you could do some crazy stuff that other characters would not be able to. So Silver aged very well with these mods. Shadow only got a few tweaks with the mods, but I would say that these fixes like Chaos Blast having better range, his speed being faster, of course, these like little minor tweaks made Shadow way more fun than I imagined the original version did. But the original idea for Shadow is still cool. The combat abilities, etc. All these. This is probably the best playable Shadow. The original ambition for Shadow in this game was a really cool combat, simple but cool combat design. And with the patches, etc., he just is functional. He works without annoyances. Chaos Blast has better range, like I said, and there's barely any bugs in the game. So Sonic Team had the right idea. It's just that it took modders to make the game work right. So I would say Shadow plays amazing in this game. He plays very fun. I really liked his stages. So in general, Sonic, Shadow, and Silver play really fun. Like, going through their campaigns is genuinely fun. My favorite boss fight in the main course campaigns, those 3 campaigns, probably Silver versus Iblis at the very end. It feels cool. It's cool to stop stuff with your psychokinesis with good timing and throw it back at him. It was fun, because if you don't do it properly, if you don't play with a good head between your shoulders, you're gonna die because he breaks the platform eventually. So you're on a bit of a time limit thing. It made me feel like all those stages of learning how to use Silver paid off. Sonic felt really good to play, but there's also the final boss battle against the Eggman flying machine. It felt kind of weird because when I'm playing Sonic, I was so scared of these bugs because it was my first campaign, right? So I didn't know that the game was so fixed. So I assumed that if I do anything crazy, there's gonna be a ton of bugs and glitches. So I just played super safe and super boring. All those fun things that are, that's what Sonic stands for. Running, jumping, doing crazy stuff all the time just for the sake of fun. I wasn't doing that much with Sonic. So some boss fights felt too long or too annoying because I was playing it super safe, right? And so that's kind of an argument there, but I feel like that was my problem because I was playing super scared because of 06's horrible reputation, not because the game's actually bad. So I would say that's not a negative for the Sonic campaign, because by the time I got to Silver and Shadow, I was so used to the game, I was no longer scared. I was just playing to have fun. The only real boss that I disliked in this game is the first Iblis fight, the one in the core, where you have to jump on these platforms and wait for him to come over when you hit those purple orbs. It's too long. It's way too monotonous. It's not interesting. It's boring as fuck, and you could easily die if you're not paying attention. And you're gonna wander off. You're gonna be bored that you're not gonna pay attention. That's the problem. So that fight is probably the only actual tedious thing in the entire game, if you ask me. All that aside, so Silver plays fine, Shadow, Sonic. What about the story? Well, a lot of people hate Elise. I found her to be not interesting enough to hate in the first place. My only issue is that Sonic doesn't have a lot of dialogue in the cutscenes. He's not that Sonic-y. Like, I don't know if that makes sense, but if you watch the Sonic Unleashed cutscenes, that's a good modern Sonic. He's serious, but he's also funny, he's relaxed, but he's also a hero. He feels right, he feels just right. Just like he did in Adventure 2. Of course, Sonic Adventure 2 needs no introduction when it comes to story. Very, 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 very good. So Sonic felt a bit pulled back, but at the same time, they understood how to do his set pieces properly, like his final cutscene when you beat his campaign.
Aren't you worried? If you have time to worry, then none, right?
That was like amazing. It was perfect. That cutscene is, especially when he tries to grab the ledge and then he falls and he can't do it, but then the thing underneath him explodes and pushes him to make it. That's what Sonic is, a classic heroic positive character. So it felt very wholesome. In those scenes where he had action set pieces, he felt like what he should be, a wholesome, endearing character. In terms of the side characters, Knuckles feels a bit weird, like what I see here. He doesn't act like Knuckles very much, he just acts like a sidekick. Amy I actually found very endearing in SA1. She was very funny and wholesome in a way. Like, I found her crush on Sonic funny instead of annoying. In 06, her cutscenes are kinda bad, really. She was wholesome for most of the game, but there's this cutscene that actually in this game it's cut out. In this mod, the whole cutscene with Elise and Amy talking to each other is cut out because it's kind of dumb. Like, Elise just escapes for them to have this conversation about who they love, and for her to get caught again. It's kind of dumb, kind of skippable. So I appreciate that they cut it out. I watched it anyways because I wanted to see how the original Sonic 06 was handled. So I watched that part of the game on YouTube. But other than that, she's kind of she's okay in this game. With Silver and Shadow though, Blaze is great. Blaze is really good. She's like Silver's rock. So for a character that's as optimistic as Silver, or as like deep down he is a hero because he's the only one really trying to save his world, with Blaze being his friend. So he has to be a hero. If you think Silver's a bad character at any point, you're not really paying enough attention. So in such a dire situation as Silver's ruined future, I would gladly bash why he accepts Mephiles' words as true when he meets them. But here's the thing, this guy has the power of time control, and he's showing you this data and saying this is the bad guy here. You would believe him if you went to the past. Like, he has time control powers. What makes him less credible than anybody else? This world is fucked. They need any hope they can find. So I don't mind that he believes Mephiles. I don't think it's a particularly bad thing. It could have been executed better, but I don't think it ruins his character. When he meets Amy, that's probably the best Amy cutscene, with how he finds her annoying, but he helps out because he's just a good guy. So even though he has a big mission going on, he still can't help himself. He has that urge to be good to people, and he's really taken aback by how beautiful this world is because it's not in a ruined state. So Blaze as his rock, when he is faced with the idea of is it okay to kill someone to save the world, Blaze basically says, and I think this is misinterpreted sometimes since she says whether it's right or wrong, we have to take this chance of being in the past. So some people think that she's saying just kill him. I think what she's saying is that regardless of whether it's right or wrong, you need to figure this out, because we can't waste the chance of being here. We have to do something, whether it's kill him or do something else. We have to do something while we're here, and she's right. That's how I understood it. I think she's right. I think that's a cool line to have, a good thing to reassure Silver without making him... She reassured him without giving him an answer, so he still has to figure out his own answers. So I'm gonna skip all the way to when he goes back to his time and tries to seal Iblis, and he tries to sacrifice himself for the sake of his world, which is amazing, but he can't do it because his soul is just normal. It's not royal. It's not, because there's strict rules to sealing Iblis, and so Blaze sacrifices herself because she has an affinity with fire to seal Iblis with her. And that was a great scene. I think it could have been done better if they had some musical special music theme for Silver that play throughout the game, like Sonic has riffs from his world that play when they want you to get hyped. Shadow has from Mephiles' Whisper theme. At the very end, there's a cool change in the song that they use a lot for Shadow. It's a very cool tune, so they definitely nailed the music in those cutscenes. They always had something to hype you up, but Silver never really had a hype orchestral theme throughout his game. So if you like edit the last scene with some hype orchestral theme in the background, I feel like emotionally it would have landed better. The voice acting is probably the worst with Silver. He just feels like he's talking off a script most of the time. Sometimes he nails it, sometimes he doesn't. It's like hit or miss. The Japanese version is probably better for Silver specifically. Everybody else I prefer in the English version. But yeah, so Silver could have done some better editing for his story, but I feel it was solid. It was a solid, optimistic hero character that's misguided at the start.
Chaos Emeralds, lend me your power. Eternal Sun, the living flame that has been entrusted to the royal family. Fall into slumber with my soul, Iblis, you cursed flames of disaster! No! Why won't it accept me as the vessel? Blaze!
I'll take Iblis. Don't worry. My soul is already alit with flame.
Shadow's story is probably my favorite Sonic story ever. And I know SA2 is seen as the best one ever, but 06 is not dealing with a conflicted Shadow, and that's very rare. So I have a specific appreciation for it. Team Dark is in a Shadow story, and they're really fun to watch, just bounce off each other. Shadow's main conflict is that Mephiles reveals that in the future, Shadow is imprisoned and defeated or captured by humans because they blame him for the catastrophe, because he's known as the ultimate life form, very strong person, so they fear his power. Of course, this makes sense because in SA2 he was kind of a bad guy, so they in their panic they latched onto him as like an scapegoat for why are they in this mess. Shadow from Shadow the Hedgehog would probably be conflicted and like maybe take Mephiles' side, but he didn't. Shadow had the best attitude he's ever had in the entire franchise, which makes sense because in Heroes, he really built up a connection with Rouge and Omega that it really doesn't matter what your backdrop is. It doesn't matter if you're originally a gun agent like Rouge. It doesn't matter if you're a killer robot. If you have some good in you, there's something to fight for there. Shadow, after having these connections in Heroes and his sacrifice in SA2, and how at the end of Shadow the Hedgehog he said that he's putting his past behind him, he has no reason to give up on humanity. Even if humanity turns on him, it doesn't matter, he's gonna do the right thing. And so that probably leads to some of the best Shadow scenes ever.
Humanity wasn't just jealous of your power, they feared it. They used this incident as an excuse to hunt you down. Come with me, Shadow. Let us punish this foolish world of humanity. It's only fair to give back what was intended for you. You have every right to want justice.
That's absurd. Whatever it is you want to do, you can do it alone.
You forgive humanity this folly, then?
I determine my own destiny.
And Mephiles, why would he ask for Shadow to be on his side? Or why would he trick Silver to kill Sonic? Why can't he just kill Sonic himself? Well, Mephiles, from the name, is kind of based on some grim stuff. I'm not gonna go into detail because I'm not history buff, but it kind of makes sense for him to be just sadistic. It makes sense for him to be a complete sadist. And if you look at it that way, his actions not only make sense, he's fun to watch. Like in the scene where he resurrects, he is so well executed, from the animations to how he walks, talks, and to the dialogue. The delivery in the English voice acting is so good. The only scene that I'd say the Japanese voice actor did better was when he was still a fog and he meets Shadow 10 years ago when he's sealed for the first time. That, when he still didn't have a body, the Japanese voice actor nailed like a gooey, dark creature voice. But the English voice actor just felt like Mephiles trying to do, the regular Mephiles trying to do like a rough voice. He can't do it. So that's probably the only thing the Japanese voice actor did better, I would say, to me. But Mephiles, generally speaking, was very fun to watch. Even when he talks to Silver and he's being all stoic and like cold and just really restrained, But when he finishes talking, he says to Silver that it doesn't matter who Sonic is, just kill him because that's gonna fix your future. And he's talking very ominously. He finishes talking and he twirls off the screen. He has zombie-like movements, but when he wants to, he does something as like casual as twirling away. So that's a very nice, like, funny but also cool duality to his character. He's like enjoying what he's doing. He's enjoying all these mind games he's doing with the Sonic characters. So I really like Mephiles. I think he's probably the best Sonic villain because the only reason Eggman isn't in that category is because I like Eggman. Like, I like Eggman a lot. So every time there's a big calamity, Eggman turns to an anti-hero. He stops being a villain instantly. So Eggman is in his own category. So that's Shadow's story. And then in the last story, we get two things. We get some of Sonic's best shit, which is his revival, or when he's dead and everybody's talking about what to do next. Silver has some cool lines. He's still optimistic. He wants to fight.
We've no time to waste. We've got to defeat it now.
No, it is a transcendent life form that exists in the past, present, and future. Defeating it here, now, would do nothing.
No, I won't give up. There has to be a way. If you say it exists in the past, present, and future, I'll destroy them all at once.
Shadow, the guy that always feels like he's, or at least people think that he thinks he's indestructible. You know, he's so confident, he's so edgy, which is not Shadow's character at all, but hey, that's just the expectation. He says that maybe we could have done this if Sonic was still alive. So that was a cool contrast. They kind of switched roles here. Silver's more independent now that Blaze is gone, sacrificed herself. Shadow is a bit more realistic, that Sonic really was someone that they need. So everybody's sad, but then Silver says that what if we return or use the emeralds to get Sonic back? And there's some jumps in logic here, some leaps in logic. Elise, having sealed Iblis, maybe has the power to get Sonic back into his own body. This is iffy, but it would all tie together if they just said, since time has been destroyed and dimensions have been destroyed, the dead haven't really passed on correctly. Maybe that would make sense. But yeah, iffy. So either way, there's a lot of leaps of logic here, but it's still a cool climactic fight, I would say, or a cool ending, I would say, because once you revive Sonic, and I don't really like the final stage here with the speed run with all the characters to go get the emeralds, but it was fine. It wasn't too annoying once you get the hang of it. Once Sonic revives, which the problem here is that Elise kisses him, and I'm 50-50 on that. I'll explain why. 50-50 as in part of me doesn't care and part of me does. And the part of me doesn't care is the part of me that says if she was a hedgehog or whatever, or if you just reskin the humans in this game to hedgehogs or animals, then people would not give a shit. It's kind of true. I feel like people are reacting poorly towards her because she's a human, and I don't care that much, so I can't empathize with that approach. The other 50 of me, or the other half of me that does hate this scene, it's because why the fuck is Sonic kissing anybody in a Sonic game? Like, he doesn't care towards Amy. He's obviously not consenting here. Why is she kissing him to revive him? It's so corny. It's so uninteresting. They have no chemistry that I don't care at all. In both cases, I don't care, but it's kind of hard to accept this. It kind of ruins the mood a little bit, but thankfully, we get saved by the epic super transformation cutscene by Shadow and Silver, which is really cool. I really wish we got more Super Silver and Super Shadow in the franchise, but honestly, after 06, we've had like 1-2 games maybe that I like, so the franchise has been dormant for a while in terms of quality, so I guess that's a dead point. Once everybody's transformed, you're in a cool-ass boss fight against Solaris. The only problem I have here is that you need to switch between characters in reverse order. You start with Sonic, Shadow, and then Silver, when you should be starting Silver, that goes into Shadow and goes into Sonic. So it's a bit jank. Even with the mod, they couldn't fix something like that. So it's a bit jank, but it works. It's fine. Like I like the Solaris boss fight. Phase 2 is obviously one of the best feelings ever. That song is amazing. The boss fight is cool because you have all of the super hedgehogs. There's a ton of cool quotes here from the supporting cast and the main hedgehogs, especially the whole past, present, future lines. I really like that shit. Once you finally defeat Solaris, which overall very, very cool boss fight. I really love this boss fight. Once you finally defeat Solaris and everybody is celebrating, we find Elise with Sonic in a room, and this to me is the worst cutscene in the game. Even if she was a hedgehog, by the time she said, "I don't care for what happens to this world," I would have excused it. I would have 100% excused it if the rest of the cutscene addressed it properly. Like if Sonic had more dialogue. This is my issue from the start with Sonic's campaign. He's just written so minimally that he doesn't say a ton of stuff. He's not very Sonic. It's like Sonic, but he's just half asleep. So when he just says, "Hey, just smile," like, how's that gonna solve a traumatic experience? Like, she very clearly has major issues if she's saying this, "My connection with you is more important than the world being saved." She's having major issues because she can't realize that, you know, dying with Sonic here is not a solution. So I don't know how saying just smile fixes everything. So like, that's my problem with this scene, is that the horrible setup ends up being horrible because it doesn't get addressed properly. So again, Sonic is kind of a shell of his usual character, but hey, we reset the world, nobody remembers anything. The irony here is that Sonic 06 deletes itself from the timeline, and everybody has tried to delete this game from the timeline because of how bad it is. But with all the fan support and all the modding, I feel like we have an experience nowadays that is close to what the devs intended. There's still some obvious times where you can see that they rushed this game, like when Shadow asks about the materials for the scepter, and then you have like a quick town mission about getting the scepter. I feel like that easily was going to be like a new stage or a new location or whatever that Shadow was going to have, or a side plot. But no, it's just a town mission. So there are some obvious rushing details here going on. But I feel like with the current modded 06, it has aged the best out of the Sonic games, if you ask me. Because they were so ambitious to put this amazing adventure into one story and pump up the scale of the story so much. In Sonic Adventure 2, we risked the planet exploding. But in Sonic 06, we have all of the dimensions of the world and time itself deleted. Like the scales, as always, Sonic keeps raising the bar every game. They push themselves, but Sega just didn't give them enough development time. So we got a shell of a game, and now we have a restored kind of game. It's not perfect, but it's very, very fun to me. It's extremely fun. There's barely any glitches. I don't think I've died once of like a bad bug or whatever. Like I never had an annoying time in this game. All of it was actually fine for me. It ranged from this is okay to this is amazing, and that's a great range to be in. So I feel like 06, with the fan support, has become a really good game. It has aged really well. And if you haven't played Sonic 06, or if you still hate Sonic 06, I would say take a look at the games that we've had since 06 that have always tried to do the opposite of 06. The franchise has not improved. If anything, it's been getting worse every single release. It's been going downhill for years now. So I don't see why we need to be angry at 06 15 years after the game released. I don't understand that at all. If anything, we should appreciate what 06 was trying to do, because that was probably the last time that the Sonic team had the balls to be ambitious. And the fans that didn't give up on this game, that didn't give up on the old Sonic team ambitious approach to Sonic, have given this game a whole new life. that I feel is worth appreciating if you like Sonic at all.
You must realize now that you cannot hope to stop me with your limited power.
So you say.
It's futile. The world will betray you. Why fight at all? Why risk your life for those who will persecute you later?
If the world chooses to become my enemy, I will fight like I always have.
Because this game, much like the Ultimate Lifeform has said, even if the world turns on this game, even if the world singles this game out as the worst game that was ever made, this game will always keep on fighting like Sonic always did.